Hi guys, my name's Emma and let's talk spooky stuff. So it finally happened. I saw the new Blair Witch film and I have plenty of feelings about it. But before I get onto my feelings, I want to mention to you guys this is a collaboration actually with Putnam, I believe that's his last name, how to pronounce it. He's also a movie reviewer and he's very passionate, so I love passion and I'm sure you guys do too, so don't forget to check him out. And also, we did review the first one, the original, on his channel. Even though this isn't a remake, but it is the third installment, but we did the original on his channel, so if you want to see what I thought about it and what he thought about it, definitely check that out before watching this, and check out his channel and don't forget to subscribe, and make sure you stay tuned for Austin's review after mine. Also, before I get into it, I have a live stream this weekend and I'm so excited to talk to you guys. Don't forget to check out the link below in the description box and I'll let you know your time zone for my live stream. I really hope you guys can make it. So on to the review. So for those of you who do not know about the Blair Witch, it is based on the first one and the whole story. Pretty much all you really need to know is that Heather from the original first film, her brother is now looking for her from traces that they found in not just the Blair Witch tapes, but also something that has recently uncovered. And a friend who is funnily enough doing another school documentary decides to make him the subject of her film, and they get a group together and go out to the woods. As a true Blair Witch fan, I have to say I was rooting for this film 100%, and I was let down in some aspects, but it did really recover nicely. But what I really learned from this is the difference between found footage then and found footage now, and how it can't really be replicated just because of technology has come so far. So starting there, obviously there is a lot of a different technology going on. They have drones in this one, which I actually thought was a really cool touch. And they also had these kind of, I think they're called like earpiece cameras where they could see each other the whole time. So this is very different to the original, or the first one, where they're only filming each other in certain parts. These guys go to sleep with these earpieces on, which was bizarre to me. But what was really special about the first one and that type of found footage was the fact that you only saw glimpses into what was going on. You didn't see the whole thing. Where in this one, I felt like you saw a lot more. Another difference I found with this one is because they were doing a documentary on this guy's sister who disappeared, they weren't necessarily doing a documentary on the townspeople and what actually happened in that town, unlike the original. So those elements were kind of sucked out and it wasn't really built up from the start. They did have a few dialogue parts where they talked about more facts about the Blair Witch, which you didn't know. And they talk about this really freely, and I felt like they didn't really have any cool aspect going on like they did in the first one, which, I mean, it's a different film, that's fine. But the thing that really got me with this film is they did have subtle nods to the first one. They had a couple of scenes that were shot by shot, meant to totally replicate the first one in their own way, which I thought was really cool. They did have like a really close-up scene, kind of like, you know, the iconic one from the first one. And they also had a scene where the girl keeps yelling the name of somebody over and over and over, just like in the first one. So I thought that was really cool. And I really love when, I guess this isn't a remake, but I really love when films that carry on decades later really pay tribute to where they get their source material from. And also another problem that I felt with found footage now is they did this kind of tricky thing where they kind of flip between scenes and between time, and they made it seem like the camera was more analog than digital, and they kind of did a lot of glitches where digital cameras don't really work that way. And this is only commonly, but obviously if something goes flat or a card goes bad, it's an error read. It's not really like, you know, bars and tones and, you know, all of that kind of stuff that you get from tape. So I thought that, yes, it's a cool touch. Yes, I know why they did it. Yes, it built a lot of more tension. It got really in the mode of, you know, the found footage, but it wasn't realistic. And I know that's a really stupid thing to pick on, but that's how I felt. And the most negative thing I have to say about this film is the characters. The characters were, I really liked them, but they weren't drawn out like the first one. I know I'm relating it back, but they totally try and replicate different parts of the first one. So I can see that they're kind of paying odes to the first one in the way it's set up. Like nights and days happen the same way, things happen in the same chronological order, but I really did not like the fact that everything was really spelt out and everything was really on the table, and I really wanted to see some more build from the characters. It would have really invested me more in caring what happened to them. Personally, they weren't really grasping me. They didn't pull me in. I have to say, into about an hour in, I was not really interested in them at all, and I thought they were very wishy-washy and the storyline was very wishy-washy. But after all of that, what I really want to say is the last half an hour of this film kicked my ass. Like, literally kicked it to the curb. It built it up in a way that's like no other, and I loved it for that. I know that a lot of people, especially when this film was known as The Woods, talked about it being the scariest movie of all time. I can see where they're coming from, and up until an hour in, I was like, what are you talking about? This is so hyped. But the last half an hour literally kicks your ass. It was done in such a gritty, grimy, disgusting, scary, a situation where you're watching a horror movie and you don't want to be in. This is number one. I am terrified of this. Being where these people were towards the end of the film, never. My worst nightmare from now on. I felt like earlier in this film, it really did have some cheap jump scares, and I felt like they almost did that on purpose just to lull you into a false sense of security, and it paid off, totally. I'm gonna give this one a personal score of 7. Although I think it's one of the most terrifying experiences. The start really didn't grasp me in a way that I would overall rate the film any higher. A scare score, I'm gonna give it 9. I thought it was terrifying, and this is my personal scare score, so you guys could be scared of something completely different, but this seriously kicked my ass. And for originality, I'm gonna have to give it a 5, just because the end, although it wasn't original, it was done in an original type of way that just, like I said before, kick my ass. I'm so curious to see what you guys thought about this film, but first, let's listen to Austin, and I'm sure he's gonna kick my ass for calling it a remake sometimes. I'm sorry, I can't help it. Austin, what did you think?
Hey Emma, thank you so much for having me on your channel to review the new found footage horror film, Blair Witch. So Blair Witch is the sequel to the 1999 Blair Witch Project, although some people have been calling it a reboot, though I'm gonna call it what it really is, and that is a sequel. But I will get into the reboot term later in this review. So in Blair Witch, we follow James, who is actually Heather Donahue's brother, who finds this tape that could be of Heather from the first film. So wanting to know if that is really Heather, he takes himself and his friends into the woods of where Blair Witch took place to find out if Heather is actually alive. Alright guys, so let's get into Blair Witch. So I was really excited about Blair Witch, mainly because of Adam Wingard and Simon Barrett. I am a huge fan of their work, and I honestly think that they are the next best writer-director duo. I really liked what they did with The Guest. I really had a fun time with Your Next, and I even thought that their contributions to VHS 1 and 2 were really cool and quite scary. Now, the reviews for Blair Witch have been all over the place. Some people have been saying that it sucks, some people have been saying it's okay, and then some people saying it's really, really good. Now, which side am I on? I'm on the side that it's really, really good. I really dug Blair Witch. One of the things that I really dug about this film was the fact that it takes full advantage of today's technology in terms of its cameras. The film has drones, they have these earpiece cameras, they have pretty much every single camera at their disposal when it comes to today's technology, and I love that it gave them more of like a almost more of like a POV advantage, but it still has that found footage horror aspect to it, which I really wanted from the start of it. I found the characters very entertaining to follow. James, Lisa, Lane's sister, and I liked all the characters in this film. There's not a single character who I honestly hated. The entire second half of this film I thought was great. There's 3 things that Adam Wingard does very well with Blair Witch. He creates a very spooky and a very creepy atmosphere at that. He has great sound design, and he creates some palpable tension. In particular, the last 20 minutes. The last 20 minutes of Blair Witch are pretty much a terrifying roller coaster ride. It was just non-stop tension, and my heart was pounding like a mother F the entire time. Getting to the sound design, whoever did the sound design for this film, give them a raise. They instilled so much dread in me that I was scared out of my mind. But yes, let's get into the overall question. Is this film scary? Yeah, the true horror of this film comes in entirely in the second half. A lot of the time, where I was just like this. Alright, now the first question I know in your guys' heads was this scary? And yeah, it is scary. But the second question I know is in your heads is this. Is this better than Blair Witch Project? Unfortunately, no. My biggest issues with the film mainly lie in the first half of the film. My biggest issue with this film, and I can totally see others saying this, is that the blueprints of Blair Witch Project, like the entire setup of Blair Witch Project, is essentially the setup of Blair Witch. I can totally see that because how it's set up is almost essentially the same as Blair Witch, except that I do feel like that Adam Wingard and Simon Barrett do just enough, particularly in the second half, to make it go into sequel territory rather than a straight up reboot. But I can totally see why people would say, I feel like I just saw the exact same movie as Blair Witch Project. But for me, I feel like they did just enough in the second half to go away from reboot territory. But honestly, my biggest glaring issue with the film, and if you guys have seen my videos on my channel, you guys will know I hate this. Jump scares. I hate jump scares with a passion, except when they're done right. Now these, however, were actually false alarm jump scares. Now in the first half in particular, there were 3 jump scares in a row. Like honestly, this was my reaction. Okay, that was actually pretty good. You got me there. It's okay, I get it. Okay, jump scares. Okay, freaking stop it. Seriously, in total, there are about 6 to 7 jump scares the entire film, but thankfully there's next to none, or there's maybe 1 or 2 in the second half, but honestly the second half is where everything kicks the hell up, everything a notch. I'm not sure if that sentence makes sense, but if it does, awesome. So overall, I'm going to compare Blair Witch Project and Blair Witch with BioShock and BioShock 2. Blair Witch Project and BioShock set very high standards for the found footage horror genre and for the first person shooter genre, where Blair Witch and BioShock 2, they do have the same setup and blueprints essentially from their predecessors, but ultimately in the second half, it kicks it up and they ultimately deliver both worthy successor to their predecessors. So yes, what I'm saying is that overall, while Blair Witch isn't as good as the original Blair Witch Project, it is a very worthy successor, I believe, to Blair Witch Project. I think you guys should go see it, especially if you're horror fans like myself. So overall, guys, I'm gonna give Blair Witch a 4 out of 5 stars. I don't think it's the best horror film of the year, and I don't even think it's close to being one of the scariest films ever made. But it is still a great roller coaster of a horror film. I definitely think you guys should go check this movie out. Thank you guys so much for watching Emma and I's review of Blair Witch. And Emma, thank you so much again for having me on your channel to review Blair Witch. It was a lot of fun. I hope to collaborate with you in the future, Emma. Please like and subscribe to Emma and I's channels. Emma in particular, I love her as a reviewer and she is an awesome person in general. You know that if you guys are watching Emma's videos. But anyways, I just wanted to say that because I'm a fan of Emma's. And as always, until Emma or I post a review on either one of our channels, we will see you guys next time. Thank you once again, Emma.
Thanks, Austin, and thank you for putting up with me and my remake terms. Guys, please check out Austin's channel. He, like I said before, is a super passionate person, and that's what I want to see when I watch a reviewer. Make sure you check him out and let him know that I sent you over. And guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Stay spooky, and I'll see you this weekend for the live stream. Bye.